Hi guys, it is me, Stephanie Denise Brown, and I am so excited because I am preparing to do my series on writing and publishing your novel. It's so crazy because I talk to a lot of writers and readers daily, and I get so excited when someone comes to me and they ask me, "Hey, how do you do this? How do you get from point A to point B?" And I get a lot of those questions, and I decided that it's very important to me as an author, as a published author, to be able to sort of pay it back to my fellow authors and things that are coming in after me. So this series is going to be very, very exciting. It is going to be an 8-part series. I want to say I've got a bunch of notes up here, but um, I want to say I am doing an 8-part series, and I am going to break down the entire process. I want to talk to you about the publishing world, the different types of styles of publishing that you can do. We're going to talk about how to write your story, which is very, very important, how to get your story to the point that it can be published, because a lot of people don't understand that that is the one of the most important parts. We're going to talk about after you finish writing and you've got your story down to the point where you think it's done, what's next? Where are we going from here? How are we going to get this story to be perfected? We're going to also talk about the cover. Believe it or not, your cover is important, and we're going to talk about some things that you can kind of look at about that, some things you need to kind of be aware. We are going to discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about knowing your path. It's very important. Do you want to go the traditional way, or do you want to go the self-publishing way? We're going to talk about how to get your book looking good on the interior, because how your book looks and how it reads and the fonts and all that is very, very important. And finally, I'm going to talk to you guys about the final product. So I'm very, very excited. I'm going to take you guys through an 8-week process. I'm going to try to get interviews on my page. Also try to get some interviews from different people that can kind of talk about this. My goal is to really give you guys just some additional steps that you can have, and that way you can kind of know where you're going. I published my first novel in 2005, and then I published my second one in 2008, and I just published my most recent one in April 2018 of this year. So as you can see, I'm a self-published author. I really love it. I'll get into more about why I'm that and all that good stuff. But for this series, for the first part of our series, what we're going to talk about today is the different types of publishing. So, you want to be a writer, you got a book idea, whether it's a nonfiction, whether it's a memoir, whether it's a fiction book, sci-fi, vampires, romance, whatever you got going on. I'll use myself a lot of times because I have books out. So I'm a romance author. And so when I started my process back in 2005, it really came down to figuring out how did I want to publish my novel. And this is very important for you to start thinking about now, because you're going to want to know how do you get from one point to the next point. So there are essentially 2 ways to publish a novel. There's the traditional publishing way. That's the way that everybody loves to talk about. It's essentially where you go to a publishing company and they come to you and say, "Hey, Stephanie, we love your work so much. We're going to give you a $25,000 bonus because we believe this book is going to sell that much. So right off the top, we're writing you $25,000 up front, and then we're going to go back and sell your novel. We're going to put it in book form. We're going to get it in bookstores for you. We're going to get you a marketing campaign. We're going to get you on Oprah. You are there. We are done. We're going to get you to all the Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, iBooks, wherever you want to be. We're going to be there. And then in return, we're just going to turn around and take a bit of the sales that we actually have to do, and we'll send you a check every month of royalties." That is called the traditional publishing way. Essentially, how the traditional publishing works is that a publisher is going to offer you a contract, and in return, they're going to print, publish, market, and sell your novel. Keep in mind that they are essentially buying the rights of your book. And that's very important to remember, because what you have to remember in this business, and I think a lot of times some writers forget, is that publishing is a business. So if they give you $100 or $200 or $5,000, if they're giving you that, it's not that they're giving it to you. It's a upfront expense. It's kind of like a here we plan to get this back, because publishing is a business. So naturally, they need to make money off of your book. That's the name of the game. So they're going to essentially own the rights to your book. Why? Because you didn't really do anything but write the novel. They've had to take all of the financial responsibility. They've had to basically take the gamble, and they've had to take the burden. So if you sell one book versus selling a million books, the only person that loses on a financial level in that situation is the publishing company, unless they've given you an advance and they're looking like, where's my advance coming from? And even then, you're pretty much just going to be stuck with them until they can get their money out. So that's the traditional publishing way. I love that way. A lot of authors go that route. And for all of you authors out there who have contracts, who are already connected to publishing companies, congratulations. I think that is a very awesome idea. It really takes a lot of the work and a lot of the oomph and financial responsibility off of you. If you want to talk to a traditional publisher, you can't just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey dude, I'm an awesome writer. I've got my mama and my grandmama bridge club and the bingo from my granddaddy, and they all love my book and they want a lot of copies. You have to be able to submit something called a query letter. And what the query letter essentially does is you'll need to find an agent. The agent is the one that pretty much is going to talk to the publishing company. Depending on the agent, they're going to want to cut because, again, they're acting as a lawyer for you. They're negotiating for you. Their job is to go out and find you a publishing company that is going to, in return, pay you money. The more money you get, the more money they get with the percentage that they're going to charge you. So you would need to find an agent in order to be able to, get into an actual publishing company. I will admit now a lot of publishing companies have kind of sort of stepped back a little bit from that because, when I started in 2005, traditional publishing essentially ran the market. I mean, that's just what it was, and you were a nobody unless you had Random House or Harlequin or Avon Books or, one of them, or Penguin, knocking your door down. Like, you were just a nobody. And so over time, they really started to understand that a lot of authors were not able to get their books in front of these agents. And these agents were getting thousands and thousands of books. So they were query letters. So it was just to the point they were kind of throwing stuff aside. I was like, I'll get to you when I get to you. So the industry has changed a bit. So there are some smaller publishing companies that you may be able to reach out to. But for the most part, what you'll want to do is get an agent. And how you get an agent is you're going to send them a query letter. And basically that letter is going to give them a synopsis of your book. It's going to give them a chapter summary, the market of your audience that your book is meant for, and a description of yourself. And that's enough to kind of let the agent know, I can work with Stephanie or I cannot work with Stephanie. So that is the process of traditional publishing. The next step, the next option that you have for publishing is self-publishing. When I started along this journey back in 2005, I researched all the ways that you can publish novels. And for me, self-publishing was the best because I'm kind of a control freak. And I also am very business minded. So I like business. I like to run my own stuff. And I saw this as being more of a legacy situation for me, something that was long term. And so I knew that I was going to have a career of publishing novels. My initial idea was I did want to actually own my own publishing company as well to publish other people's novels. So that was kind of where I was started when I came in. But here's how self-publishing works. Even with self-publishing, there are different ways to self-publish. One of the ways is called print on demand. Print on demand is a very cool option. It allows you basically to print your novels on demand. So instead of you going to a printer and saying, hey, I want to order 500 books and then stacking them up in your garage or all around your living room or your bedroom, print on demand, essentially you would go to the company. You pretty much are going to pay them to put your book, and they're going to basically print your book as it is ordered. I can tell you with print on demand, it is a little bit more expensive because, as you know, anytime you're buying anything that's not in bulk, you're going to pay a little bit more for that. So just kind of keep that in mind, that bulk does kind of give that situation. So usually they're going to print you up books as they come in. You can kind of, sort of dictate your supply and demand based on how much that you're doing. And essentially, the big bonus to print on demand is that you're not stuck with inventory. And so you're not buying things that you don't really need to buy. So if you don't need 100 books and you only needed 50, then you're only going to come in and pay for it. Typically, print on demand will also give you some type of royalty that they actually have set up. The second option of self-publishing is called vanity publishing. Vanity publishing was something that came out a long time ago. I will admit, back in the day when I started, it was kind of I don't know about that one. How vanity publishing works is that it's also known as a book manufacturer. So basically, you are going to go in, the manufacturer is going to print in your books. They're going to put everything together, and you basically are going to pay for everything. So you go to a manufacturer and they pay for everything, and they don't offer you any kind of editing or marketing services, things of that nature. Just a kind of off note, side note, print on demand, they usually will give you additional services on top of their price. So if you don't have an editor or a cover artist or anything of that nature, typically they try to give you the whole one-stop shop so you can get additional things as you're also as you're working on. So that is one of the cool things about print on demand. The vanity does not work that way. So pretty much they're going to come in, you're just going to give them the money, they're going to put your book in book form, and then that's all there is to it. The neat thing about vanity is that you pretty much own your book and you own the rights to your book and things of that nature. So that's kind of how vanity publishing is. You would just get them to basically put your book in book form, you own it, you get 100% of everything that comes through it. The third form is called subsidy publisher. And a subsidy publisher basically will come in and they will share the cost of the book publishing with you. So if money is an option and you're kind of like, I don't really know if I can afford to go and self-publish my novel, it's kind of sticky, things of that nature, you can do a subsidy publisher where they act somewhat like a vanity publisher. However, they will share a portion of the cost with editing and distribution and warehouse and marketing. But in return for that, they're going to own the book until all the units have been sold. And again, remember, the reason why they're doing that is because you have not maintain the entire financial burden. What I really want you guys to remember is that the person that has the money holds the power. So if you are going to do it all by yourself, then you hold the power. But the minute you add another element or someone into your process, that will come in and change everything. So please keep that in mind. So what are some of the major differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing? Traditional publishing, they're going to pretty much come in there and they are going to, you're not paying anything to get your book in book form. So as an author, you don't shoulder any of the financial responsibility. I can tell you, depending on the quality of work that you're looking at, an average book nowadays, to put it in book form, depending on how many copies that you want, it's going to cost you between $3,000 and $5,000. So you would definitely need that for a good editor, for a good cover artist. I mean, I'm gonna range more towards that $5,000 that you're going to need to be able to do it. And again, that doesn't guarantee you getting in bookstores and things of that nature. That's just getting some printed books up and whatnot from there. So when you go through the traditional publishing way, you avoid all of that. They're going to take on all that for you. It's in their best interest to create you a marketing plan because, of course, they need you to sell the book because that's how they're going to get paid back. And again, this is a business. So keep in mind with the traditional publishing, that is kind of how it works. With self-publishing, you carry all the costs on your own. I mean, you are your marketer, you're publishing the book, you're printing the book. I mean, you're doing everything on your own, you're figuring it all out. And the plus to it is that you do get to have, when the profits come in, you do get to take all 100%. But keep in mind, if you are self-publishing, you want to think of your publishing company and your book as a business. In order to continue to publish novels, you can't just run and take all the money and run out there. You have got to think of yourself as a business in order to survive. Just to kind of give you a personal example with my own novels, I literally take out the cost of my book to buy my novel. I also take out taxes in my in my pay cut for all of my novels. I take out savings expenses, and I also pay myself a royalty. So I've had to literally go in and take the price of my book and figure out how to fit all of those things. I sell my books on my online website. There's a charge every time I accept a credit card. So all of those things have to be um, thought about when you are pricing your book and also selling your novel. So the self-publishing does give you a lot of freedom, and it gives you a lot of, expertise and things of that nature. So I guess now it just comes down, before we end, it really comes down to what's the best option for me, Steph. Like, I don't know. I mean, traditional sounds great. I wouldn't mind not having to worry about paying for it. And well, self-publishing sounds great because I do want to be my own boss, and I don't really want anybody telling me how to write my book. And so it's like, what do I do? I mean, I could do print on demand. I could kind of avoid having to pay for books that I don't need. It really comes down to you. And how I want you to think about it is this. If this is something that you just want to do a one and done, or you're doing like a poetry book, or maybe you're doing like a short story or a self-help book, you can always self-publish that. Amazon's got a great self-publishing platform that you can use. You can pretty much now go in there and put your book in book form with no upfront cost and be on Amazon Live ready to go in like 2 or 3 days. So that is definitely an option for you that you can actually think of. If you are looking to do this long term, and you have to know who you are. If you're somebody who likes to be in control, if you're somebody who really doesn't want somebody telling you that I don't like this sentence, or I think you ought to take this whole chapter out of this book, or maybe this paragraph needs to go, or, if you are a person who is afraid of rejection, you don't want to send all your stuff out 50,000 times to get 50,000 no's, it's going to make you feel like you're not a good writer, then self-publishing might be the way for you, and you can always pick one of the options in self-publishing. If you're somebody who really just doesn't want to shoulder the financial responsibility, then traditional publishing is your best bet. But I can tell you this, and I kind of want to leave on this note. Keep in mind that although when you go to a publisher company, it's like you're not the only person there, okay? So they may have a lineup of 20 people, 100 people, 1,000, 2,000, whatever the case may be. With anything in life, they're going to put their time and effort and resources to the people that are guaranteeing them money and that is guaranteeing to get them back their, what they've given in the advance, and is going to put money back in their pockets to keep being able to publish novels. So if you are somebody that's just coming into the game and you haven't really built your name up yet, you don't really have a social media presence, but you got a great story and a great book, they're going to probably assign the intern to you. And that intern is going to be hungry because they're going to want to get up there and they want to be the big dog, and you may or may not get the attention that you need. So what I will tell you is this: if you are doing traditional publishing, you still need to think of yourself as an entity. You still need to be out there, not depending on them to do everything for you. Don't think I'm just going to sit back and they're going to schedule all my interviews and they're going to handle my social media. You still have to be a proponent for your story, and you still have to be out there pushing your story. So before I go, I will tell you, I chose self-publishing because I knew that, as I told you, I wanted to be in business. And I also knew it was something that I really wanted to do. And I had the dreams of, wanting to publish other people's work. But I think one of the most important things about it was that I realized that, whether I did traditional publishing or self-publishing, Stephanie was going to have to go out there and sell her own book. I mean, it is what it is. So for me, I felt as though I needed to believe in myself. And if I could sell my book myself, then I could do whatever I needed to do. So just really kind of think about what you want to do and really take the time to figure out these are your options: traditional publishing or self-publishing. You have one or the other, one of these two options that you can do. I will be coming back next week, and next week we're going to be talking about how to get that book ready to publish, because we got to write this book and we got to get this book done, and we don't have time for the game. So I'll be back next Tuesday to go over some more options for you. I'm going to try to get some interviews with some publishers. You can visit my website, which is stephaniedbrown.com. Again, that is stephaniedbrown.com. I'm also on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm Stephanie D. Brown Writer on Twitter. I am at IPTLR. And I'm also on Facebook as well under Stephanie D. Brown. So you can always follow me and check me out. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, I am an open book. You can DM me, you can email me. I'm always here for you guys. But until next time, really take the time to figure out, are you traditional or are you self? Figure that out now, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Goodbye.